I'm good. Okay. Margaret Corbin was born on November 2nd, 1751 in Franklin County, Pennsylvania. Her spouse was John Corbin, and she had one daughter, Abigail. Her parents were Robert Cochran, a Scots-Irish immigrant, and wife Sarah were attacked by Native Americans. Her father died, and her mother was kidnapped, never to be seen again. Since Margaret and her brother John were not at the house during the raid, they were able to avoid them and survive. Margaret lived with her uncle for the rest of her life, and she married John Corbin, who was a Virginia farmer, in 1772 when she was 21. On November 16, 1776, Margaret Corbin's husband, John Corbin, was one of some 600 American soldiers that were defending Fort Washington against 4,000 Hessian troops. Much like several other wives, Margaret was too nervous to let her husband go to battle. Since she was already a nurse, she followed him to battle and worked as a nurse for the injured soldiers. John Corbin worked on one of the two cannons on battle, and when he fell in action, Margaret took his place and manned it until she was too seriously injured and couldn't do it anymore. The legend of Margaret Corbin says that she was next to her husband when he fell in action, so she immediately took his post. Since she watched her husband, who was a trained artilleryman, fire the cannon so many times, she could, with great ease, fire, aim, and clean it. Because of her finesse, the soldiers were extremely impressed. Margaret Corbin later became one of the first women to receive pension from Congress for military service because she was too permanently injured to work and was enlisted into the Corps of Invalids.
Mary Ludwig Hayes Macaulay is believed to be born circa October 13th, 1754, near Trenton, New Jersey. She died on January 22nd, 1832. She had a normal-sized family. Her older brother's name was John Martin, and her parents' name were Maria Margaretha and John George Ludwig. Her father was a butcher. Mary was one of the women that carried waters to the soldiers. She married a man named William Hayes. They were married on July 24th, 1769. Mary's husband, William Hayes, joined the Continental Army of Proctor's, the 4th Artillery, in 1777. Mary went with him to the winter camp in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. She joined a group of women that was led by Martha Washington. This group of followers provided services such as washing blankets, washing clothes, and caring for the sick and injured. They also carried water to the troops on the field, which was for drinking and cooling down the cannons. The water was also used to soak the ramrod sponge, which was used to clean the barrels after each shot. When the soldiers needed water, they would shout, "Molly Pitcher." Mary witnessed her husband collapse at his canyon, unable to continue the fight. She immediately dropped her pitcher of water and took his place on the cannon, manning the weapon throughout the remainder of the battle until the colonists achieved victory. A cannon passed her legs on the battlefield, leaving her uninjured. After the war ended, they moved back to their home in Pennsylvania. Her husband died, and afterwards she remarried a war veteran named John Macaulay, who worked in the State House in Carseal. She was honored by the Pennsylvania legislature in 1822 for her wartime services, receiving an award of $40 and an annual commission of the same amount for the rest of her life.